are listening and watching Leverage. Right? Yay, Leverage, the podcast about politics, power, and influence. I'm Kristal Taylor.
And I'm Breon Wells.
And before we get started here live at the Black Millennial Convention, we're going to start the day with our unofficial theme song.
Is this motivation?
It's motivation.
Oh.
You like this? Yeah? Is that what we're doing? We're knucking, we're bucking, we're ready to fight. Yeah, we're hyped. Okay.
The petty is strong with this one this morning.
We had to get started early because we knucking, we bucking, we ready to fight. Here live
Day
at
two.
Leverage, day two
Of the
day
Black
two
Millennial
of the Black
Convention.
Millennial Convention. All of the things. Breon, get us started. Tell us about our fabulous guest.
So,
The things that have been happening.
you know,
all of that,
yesterday was
everything.
a good panel or a good conference, good convention. That means
Convening.
gathering of the minds.
Yes, yes.
And in fact,
Yes.
our very own Kristal was on a panel.
I
Come on.
was.
Doesn't the Bible say, be ye also ready?
Me? I was on the panel.
Yeah,
I was
she was
ready.
in and out
She
of
was
season.
like,
We
who
was
you
ready. We was
I
here.
hardly know what I want to say, and then killed. You know what I mean? She's like, I hardly have my notes together. Whoosh, here's everything.
We speaks from the heart.
You know,
From the heart.
if you can't be real from here, then what is you doing? You see what I'm saying?
If you ain't ready to knuck and buck, you ain't ready to fight.
Right. So
There it is.
I'm gonna introduce though our guest, but let me take us through a journey.
Oh.
I walked in the conference yesterday,
Yes,
the convention,
yes,
you know,
yes,
minding
yes.
my own godly business.
Yeah.
And random stranger, we'll call them that for right now. Random stranger number
stranger.
one. I was like, I
Number
see a
one.
hand in the distance waving at me.
Wave offering.
It was a
Wave
wave.
offering.
And I said in myself, with all of my eloquence, who that is? And as I peered closer, I was like, wait a minute, is that Allan Chipman? There across the room was my roommate from our junior
Yeah.
junior and senior. We were apartment mates, the brilliant Allan Chipman. Now,
AKA
I'm not calling another grown man. That's gonna have to be on you, twin.
the Allan Chipman, AKA Dimples. Dimples. Dimples.
Now, y'all, Allan Chipman, he is brilliant. He's a brilliant mind. We are happy to have him with the Leverage family.
Yes.
So yesterday, he also was drafted on a panel at the last minute.
Was this the racial draft?
It was. And so again, what had happened was, you know, he was on there like, I don't even know what to say. I'm hardly ready. By the end of the panel, Kristal, now you can attest to this. Not
Listen,
only did he kill, he gave us a history lesson.
I was standing up. Not a standing ovulation. What you call
Standing
standing
ovation?
ovation? I was like,
Oh, not
no,
an
that ain't
ovulation,
right.
Lord.
No, I was like, that ain't the one. That ain't the one. We had
I know
the
it's like
standing ovation, clapping, throwing the shoes, all of it. We were ready.
I had to remind him, you know,
We
they don't
were
take up
ready.
an offering here the way you're preaching. But not only did he
Listen.
preach to us, he
Listen.
gave us a 30-second little "This is America" little
Yes,
jig and dance,
he did
you know,
it. He
in
did
the
the
middle.
dance.
And I said, "Sir."
He did the
so
dance.
without further ado,
He did.
and we don't believe in nepotism here.
The
You know, every
dance.
guest we have, they're worth their own weight in salt.
In salt, gold.
We present the one, the only Allan Chipman.
Yes. Woo,
Well,
I
so-
need like
Good to
an
be here.
applause track.
Good to be
Right.
here.
I need an applause
Yeah,
track.
like the sitcom.
All of the things.
Yep. How you doing, Allan?
I'm doing good. It's great to see you. I was so excited to see you. It was like I'm very happy to be here. Like from America when I saw him, and I was like, man, people talking right now. I can't be out here trying to him this brother out.
I mean, but you should. You should
Yeah.
always be. So briefly, because so here's the thing, Breon, brilliant co-host and partner and magical maven of all things that he is,
sure.
he wanted to be stingy and not tell the world about Allan Chipman, aka Dimples, prior to tomorrow. Prior to yesterday.
tomorrow.
Prior to tomorrow.
I didn't know he was gonna
That's how
be here.
forward thinking
Yeah.
we gonna be.
I didn't
That's
know
the
he was
day
gonna be
prior
here.
to tomorrow.
Tell the good people, what is your vehicle for channeling your brilliance? What do you do?
Yeah,
Give
for
us
sure.
some information.
So, I'm a faith-rooted organizer and transformation strategist. Long title. Get your albuterol ready if you guys.
Come on, transformational strategist and faith.
For a trust-building organization called Initiatives of Change. And so it was founded after World War II, and it really helps war-torn countries and post kind of civil war and conflict areas kind of learn their history and how that has been affecting different communities and how you can kind of build a narrative that brings people back together and kind of organize against the things that they kind of been going through. And I also have a podcast called The Difference in Thought.
Yes.
And where the whole thing is, the theme is that there can be no difference without subtraction. If you think about like arithmetic, but really, when you want to have a difference, you have to know that those differences have a cost, and the people that we follow, there's been a great cost to the differences that we've made, and just try to have people kind of have that mindset. And I'm really passionate about history because one of my personal philosophies is just because something is current doesn't mean that it's new.
Right. That's quotable in y'all's little black book that you shall purchase. They are almost ready.
That's right.
Just because something is current does not mean it is new. So yesterday, on one of the panels, you made, I think, this really, really, really poignant point right during this conversation around the 2020 elections and the candidates that are on the field and what are people looking for, what are we hoping for in terms of presidential contenders and all of that. And your point was, hey, there are lots of great ideas already.
Right.
Who is going to have the courage and the will to actually implement them? Like,
implementation.
Talk to us. Like, why do you think it's so hard for people to actually come up with the strategy to do some of the great things that have already been suggested? And again, it's like, just because it's current don't mean it's new.
Right.
Like, why is there that disconnect?
Right, and I think it comes down to that. That quote I said earlier, said there can be no difference without subtraction. Everybody wants difference until it costs them something. Right. And so one quote that I said yesterday was A. Philip Randolph. He loved Charles Hamilton Houston so much because he said he's racially conscious, aka, as he says, he ain't scared to stand up for black people. Right. And so this is like that W.E.B. Du Bois double consciousness, right? Like, when a white person come in, sometimes you change up the script and saying, can I be this black here? And it's like, you need to be, right? And so it's that political will and saying that, like, I'm not going to be ashamed to look at the history of America as it is. That's why I was dancing and talking about this is America, right? Because I was at a prayer breakfast dedicated to Martin Luther King, and this black senator stood up and said, my president talking about make America great again, and he says, America's already great. And I'm looking around and
which century? I'll give you a century. Head start. Which one are you talking about, sir?
Maybe for a hot minute during Reconstruction, but you know what happened after that.
And that was short-lived.
Right, for sure. And so it seems to, and I always talk about the progress of Americans, saying that America seems to have this societal muscle memory, right? So if you think about like a chiropractor, if you're misaligned, he's gonna pop you back, but because your muscles are so attuned to being misaligned, it'll pull it back real quick. And so you have to go through this process, this continual process, to make sure the muscles aren't pulling back you out of alignment. And so I feel like there have been these moments throughout history when we talk about Reconstruction, and then there's Andrew Johnson coming in and pulling out the federal troops and saying, well, the South gonna be the South, right? Then you have the Civil War, and then you have Nixon coming in after that, right? Then you have Obama, then you have Trump. So you see this constant alignment, and then this societal muscle memory steeped in racism, misaligning it over and over again. And so how do we do this, the spirit work of moving people beyond just this racist spirit to be able to actually capitalize on the moments where we're on the precipice of being finally being a country that everybody can be proud of.
So here's my question. As a transformational strategist, how important then is knowing history,
right,
and understanding history in the work that you do?
For sure. So I always tell people, like, history is like a playbook, right? You can understand and you can watch the tape, and because if you think everything is new, you're never going to be able to win, right? One of the greatest things is when Doc Rivers on the Celtics beat Phil Jackson with the Lakers, right? I'm sure that brother understood this triangle offense he's running on me. He ran back in Chicago. So if I can go back and see how it broke down Chicago, how to do that. I have more tape than the people who think he just started that joint on the Lakers.
Right.
Right. So we can go back and look at not only just the playbooks of those who are opposing us, but the people who have been the Dr. Kings, the Charles Hamilton Houstons, the Fannie Lou Hamers, right? You can understand. I really think we're in the moment of the Democratic Freedom Party where Fannie Lou Hamer is like, freedom means black people on a black platform.
Right.
But when I come to your white institution who needs my vote to say I'm less racist than the other side, but when I come out and you're not really about it, but you send black people like Adam Clayton Powell out here to tell me to settle down, then it's a moment in time where you need to. So it helps you understand where that societal muscle memory kicks in, and that's why I say yesterday, fam, I don't need new ideas.
Right.
We need the political will to do it. Andrew Yang out here talking about a freedom dividend, and it's like, fam, that's what Dr. King talked about.
Right.
And where do we go from here? Chaos
And you
community
need
in
follow
68.
through, like
Right.
we talked about yesterday.
Right.
Follow through.
Right. So, I mean, I think the history gives you more tools and actually an infrastructure that's built. And
Correct.
I think I was talking to Breon about this yesterday and saying, like, the playbook never stopped working. We just started killing the players.
Right. Right.
Right. And so then you kill the players, and then you kill that history, right? Then you actually Mitch McConnell, all these other people saying using the same playbook that Charles Hampton Houston did. Charles Hampton Houston said, you know what? I don't really believe in politics. I believe in the court system. So then he would go around and find people to do these trials and set a precedent that would go from the local up to the district to the federal and ultimately the Supreme. So then in the last years of Obama's administration, I mean, when he had all these federal judge openings, Mitch McConnell wasn't going to let them sit, not just on the Supreme Court, but the federal court judge, so that when Trump comes in, there are like 100 and some odd vacancies that he fills in his first year,
instantly.
right? Instantly, right? Then you understand, okay, this is the playbook that's being used, and so the other side is learn how to co-opt and see what works and use it against us. But not only are we outraged, but are we organized? And
From a 2020 perspective, then, what are you hearing, feeling that the grassroots, the everyday people, as they look at 2020, the election coming up, we already saw 2016 and how that went.
Right.
And I feel, and I brought this up a lot, I think our messaging, the messaging that was out there has always been vote the lesser of two evils, when maybe it should have been vote your strategy, right? To give you something to vote for. But now it sounds like we're hearing the rumblings again of vote the lesser of two evil, because if you don't go out and vote, Trump is going to continue here in this Trump.
Right.
How do you think people on the ground are perceiving this moment?
I was talking to one of the organizers that got the amendment on in Florida on the ballot to Amendment 4
with the returning felons.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And she was saying, and there people were asking, like, man, how did you get so many people to like turn out and do these types of things? And she said, we have to have a change in our mind from getting people to the ballot to getting people's issues on the ballot.
Right.
And when you can build that platform, when people are part of a process, they'll be more committed to making an outcome.
So give them something to vote for.
Right, for sure.
Not just against.
Right.
Give them something to vote for.
Yes.
Well, see, and the point in that, I think, right, is like this idea of agency and how we start to show up for ourselves, right? Because I think one of the good points that was made yesterday by, I want to say it was Simone Sanders, right, who was talking on the panel, and we were asking questions about, like, so what do you want to see from the candidate? She's like, listen, everybody's still forming their positions.
Yep.
Yes.
What do you want to see from the
absolutely.
candidate?
That's right.
Absolutely.
And how are you leveraging this moment
How
to
are you
bring in
leveraging
your
this moment? And I
asks?
think, it's one thing to sit back and be frustrated, like, dog, we got 23 people in the Democratic field right now. They're going to nullify each other. Everybody's going to be mad. But it's like, no, actually, vote your strategy.
That's right.
Engage differently. Like, what is it that you want to see?
That's right.
And then go to each of these campaigns. And how do they respond?
Yeah.
Oh, you're not trying to do this?
Yeah.
Oh, you're not my candidate.
Right.
You're not
Yep.
the candidate of all these people I represent either.
Right.
Next, who's
Yep.
up? And I mean, it's like, that's how we have to start engaging differently. Because it's like to this point of not falling in love with the person as much as just falling in love with the policy, the
That's right.
outcome. Like,
Right.
what is the goal? What do you need to see? It's like, it's hard to hold somebody accountable for something when we never gave them the expectation that this is what we're going to hold you accountable for.
Right.
And this is what accountability looks like.
Yeah.
You're not going to get our funding. We're not going to show up to vote. We're not going to work in your campaigns. We're not going to support your administration.
You are one vote away from unemployment.
One vote away from unemployment.
One vote away.
Absolutely.
You gotta remind people. And yeah, and again, in studying history, people love to talk about the Civil Rights Act of '64, but when you talk about what happened in Freedom Summer of '63, right, when they're going and canvassing and talking about, man, we want our votes to count, and they were going canvassing, putting more people into the system, actually going to the convention and having those speeches, even though they were grimy, and like
he said, even though they were grimy.
He brought a little
when they had
shade.
all those people, you know, they had King, they had all these other organizers united saying, hey, this is what we want. But the one testimony they didn't want to hear was from Fannie Lou Hamer.
Right.
And while and the fact and when they were televised,
she did.
yes,
Blessed.
yes. And so while it's televised, the president gets on.
Yep, Johnson
tries
to steal the
and
narrative.
says some random thing. This is the anniversary of Abraham Lincoln tying his shoe for the first time. Something super irrelevant, just so they wouldn't see that person's testimony.
Correct.
And so, and she made it very important that before I do this Freedom Democratic Party, I'm going to go there first, and then if they don't represent me, then we're going to build something else.
Right.
But you have to engage and build,
right,
and have the not just the protest but the present, right?
Right.
Having that Andrew Young, Whitney Young, and the Dr. King and the Sophie Carmichael working together, saying that I'm going to protest, but in order to get and form this platform that I have, but sometimes it don't take protesting, it takes presentation. Like,
correct.
Why are we starting with a protest? How do you know they don't agree with you already?
Did you reach out to them first?
Right.
Here's where I'm gonna do the shameless plug that this could be you moment. That's why you want to get your little black book to write down your strategies, right? So that as you look, you say, have I had conversation with them?
Right, for sure.
Your little black book can tell you, no, you haven't. Have conversation. This is how you track and build a strategy that actually can be effective.
I mean, if you think about like an organization more recently who's been very effective at that kind of approach is Color of Change.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
Like the whole method that they employ.
Yep.
You know, is like, listen, there's an issue. We're going to talk to you.
Right.
We'll sit down with you.
Right.
Yep.
Where does that get us?
Yep.
Oh, that doesn't get us anywhere? Then we activate.
Then at the end, we turn into Malcolm X with the Denzel Washington with the glove.
With the glove, right. Then we
and
activate, and guess what? After we activate, we re-engage.
Right.
For sure.
You catch our power?
Because
you feel us now?
what's the
Are you
reason
paying
for
attention?
protesting? It's to bring people to the table for conversation.
Right.
It's not just to be out here. So it's all right to be outraged, but exactly as you bring up often, Twin, what are you doing as you channel that outrage? What's the end? The end goal should be to
Can we
bring
say
them to
that
the
protest is a tool?
Yes.
Come on here.
It is not the end game.
Demonstrate organized power. The other type
That's
of power that A. Philip Randolph talks about counters like the power of money, all those other types of things, is organized power. And so it's like, how can the protest be effective if one is not organized and not connected to a greater plan and an alternative reality that you're presenting?
And what we learned from Reconstruction is if you have no receipts, you have nothing. And that's why you have to be in the public policy game. Bring me your receipt. That little black book.
That's right.
That little black book. Again, shameless plug. This little black book shall soon be available.
Order now with your credit card.
Thank you.
No.
For 15 easy payments of $99.99. Let me stop that.
So that's the black book that comes with all the tea already in it, okay? That is the fully built out black book with the receipts.
Yeah, that's nice.
Well, sir, how can people follow you?
Sure, you can follow me at A Difference in Thought. iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play Music. Type in A Difference in Thought. You can find my podcast there. On Instagram, it's A Difference in Thought. And on Twitter, it's A Diff in Thought because it's a long behind name and Twitter isn't about that life. So ADIFFINTHOUGHT. You can find me there. And also on YouTube, there's a visual podcast for A Difference in Thought. You can find me there.
So I couldn't be prouder of the one and only Allan Chipman.
Yeah.
I knew him before he blew up and got famous and everything. I'm trying to get a ride on his jet.
Real talk though, like I have to thank Breon. I don't know if I ever told him this, but he's a great example of actually how I got into this work and like really understanding this more. Because I came from like the Reverend Dr. King type area, but I would come in and this brother would watch C-SPAN all the time, and it would look like he was looking at the NBA Finals. This brother would be heated. Oh no, he did da da da, and I was like, bro, what is? I was like, I come in like, oh yeah, who winning? It's like C-SPAN. I'm like, wait, what?
He said who winning?
But then I started watching,
C-SPAN.
started understanding more, and I was like, okay, I understand. And then like I'll be laughing, I'll be at home watching C-SPAN, and I'm like, God dang it, I've turned into Breon.
Yeah. I'm telling inner nerds, inner political nerds, one at a time. Well, But man, I'm proud of you. We appreciate you, and keep it up with the brilliance. And I'm sure this will not be the last time that the Leverage family hears it.
It surely will not.
That's right. I'll be waving crazy in the crowd next time I see you.
And we'll be back, y'all, with more from the Black Millennial Convention.
You're listening to Leverage, the podcast about power, politics, and influence. I'm Kristal Taylor.
And I'm Breon Wells.